And that brings us to the last topic for today, Teddy. UFC 260, Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ngannou. Hard to root against either guy here. Both world-class human beings. Stipe, a full-time firefighter in Cleveland. Francis, immigrant from Cameroon, lived in a parking lot in France when he was learning to box. Just an awesome story of perseverance. Both world-class guys, like I said. Odds on this fight over at my bookie, Stipe almost even. Stipe minus 105, Francis a slight favorite at minus 125, over under 1.5 rounds. What are you looking for in this one?
Two classy guys, two guys that you said you root for. Francis has been on our show. I've worked in a gym with Francis in Las Vegas, in his gym one time, and did a training session with him. So obviously we have good wishes for him. We respect both guys. I know I do. I know you do. Respect both guys very much. They do it the right way in the ring and outside the ring, or in the octagon, outside the octagon. But my heart will be with Francis. And the first fight, Francis got dominated. Friend or no friend, we always have to tell the truth here. It was a dominant performance and win for Miocic. To handicap it, from me doing my work and, understanding what these guys possess, what makes them what they are. Miocic is a much more, as I talk about in boxing a lot of times, it gives him a big advantage. He's the much more dimensional guy, the much more well-rounded guy, the much more experienced guy. Let's be honest. I mean, Ngannou started later in his life. He doesn't have the experience that Miocic has. Miocic has experience both on the floor in wrestling, grappling, in all those ways, and he was a wrestler. I believe he was a collegiate wrestler. I believe he was a Golden Glove champion. Also, Miocic. So he's a rounded guy. The son of a gun is an experienced guy from the amateurs. As I said, he's versed. He's well versed in all the deployments of fighting when it comes to what goes on in the octagon. Could do it. He's much more polished in those areas than Ngannou. Ngannou has one X factor. He can knock your lights out. He can knock your lights out. I mean, as I always would say on ESPN, punches are not made, they're born. That's Ngannou. That's him. Either you're born with that kind of power like Tyson was. Yeah, you could teach, you could improve, you could technique. The delivery system has to be improved to get it across to the target. No doubt about that, to make it effective. But the power, the pure power, it's there from birth, being born a puncher or it's not. He was born to punch. But his delivery system wasn't good enough. His technique wasn't good enough to win the first time. He wasn't experienced enough. I think the moment got him. He ran out of petrol fast. I believe this time two things. I believe he's going to be in better shape, cardiovascular, physically. But I believe that mentally, part of getting tired the first time you fight for a title can be because you're burning fuel too fast. You're not used to that moment. You're just not used to being under the lights on a stage for a title. It's quite a moment. It can be an overwhelming moment. And I think that he wasn't ready for that moment. He obviously had nothing that prepared him for that moment. He didn't have that kind of experience, Francis. And I think a combination, he could have maybe been in better physical shape, but I think that moment, not being used to what that was going to feel like, deteriorated him physically. And as I said, he wasn't able to physically be where he needed to be to have a better chance on the striking end. Now, also, Miocic, to his credit, He got it inside. He shot at him. He got him on the floor where he could dominate, being a better guy, the more experienced guy on the floor. He was able to do that. And he was able to survive when he was on his feet because of his boxing experience. Survive getting caught with that huge, clean punch. That I don't care what kind of chin you have. If Ngannou catches you clean, you're getting hurt. You're getting hurt. And so Ngannou is more experienced now. It's 3 years later. He's more seasoned. In all those areas I just pointed out, he's better in those areas. He's going to be more used to the lights, more used to that stage. I don't think he's going to burn up too fast. And I think his conditioning is going to be better, obviously. But most importantly, his mind's going to be better. That he's been there before and he knows what to expect. It's kind of like going to the Super Bowl. You got a veteran team and you got a new team coming in, and you always hear it. You always hear the veteran team say, well, how's it help you being that you've been to a Super Bowl? Well, we know what to expect. We know what it feels like. We know what the distractions are. We know what can get to you, and the other team doesn't. So he knows now. He's been there. That's going to be beneficial. I think that's going to help Ngannou. He's had 4 more fights since then. I think he's better technically. I think he's improved in certain areas. Is he at the level of improvement of technique and being diversified and dimensional as Miocic? No. He'd have to fight another 5 years to do that. No, he hasn't caught up in those areas. Miocic has that experience in those areas, and he doesn't. And he has that development in those areas. He doesn't. So Miocic is still the more rounded guy, the more developed guy in those areas. But again, I hearken back to the X Factor. He's got that one thing, the eraser. The eraser. That can make up for mistakes. That can make up for experience in a hurry. In a hurry. So I think he's going to have to use his... I think Francis is going to have to show that he's more seasoned, more controlled, technically a little better shape mentally and physically, where he sustains himself. He's going to have to avoid the shoots, keep it on the feet. If I was giving him a little suggestion, I'd say maybe you be prepared for a shoot. Maybe you set a trap for an uppercut where you could catch him coming in with an uppercut. There was a UFC fighter, who was it, just recently?
Derek Lewis.
There it is, Ken. There it is. That did that beautifully. It was no accident. He knew that Blades was going to come in looking to shoot because Blades was the better wrestler. So he was prepared to catch him when he shot, kind of like Masvidal caught Askren with the knee because he knew that he'd be looking to shoot, and he timed it. Well, same thing. Part of success is preparation. Knowing what you're dealing with. Being prepared for what you're dealing with. So Francis needs to be prepared for that and have an answer for that. Miocic, obviously, I'm sure he will. He knows what the danger is. He knows exactly what it is. I think, again, that if they can get to the floor, if they can get to the mat, then Miocic's going to win. If he can consistently get to the floor, he's going to win. If he can get there without getting caught to get there, he's going to win. If he can avoid the big shots, obviously, he's going to want to get it into deeper waters. But I'm going to go with Francis. I'm going to pick him for the people out there, my bookie. I'm not saying, go crazy, but I don't like having to lay the, again, yeah, but it's not a lot. You don't have to lay much. It's what is it again, Ken?
Minus 125 on Francis. Minus 105 on Stipe.
Now, again, after everything I said, you're probably looking, hey, wait a minute, the dog looks like a good bet here. And I get it. And a lot of people are going to bet that dog. And I wouldn't disagree with you. I would not disagree with you. He's the more experienced guy. He won the first time. He's more versatile. He's just more developed in all the areas of combat fighting, quite frankly. He just doesn't have that eraser. But he's got everything else. I'm going to bet on the eraser. I'm going to bet that somewhere along the line, Francis is going to catch him. That's what I'm betting on. And again, I could see why you would want to take Miocic. I can, 100%. But I'm going to say that Miocic is 38 years old. He's, as much as I think 4 fights in 3 years has helped Francis get more seasoning, get more developed, I think it's possible that it could hurt Miocic. He's gotten a little older. He's had some tough fights with DC, got knocked out during that time period that he, between the first fight and now with Francis. He got knocked out by DC. He had 3 fights with DC. They were all tough fights. That takes something out of you, especially at 38. So I'm putting all that. I'm factoring all of that in when I'm handicapping this. And I'm going to say with all of that, having said all of that, and with Ngannou being fresher, yeah, I know he's greener. I get it. But he's younger. He's been there now. I'm going to say he's going to find a way to land that big eraser, to erase all the other things that in one instant suddenly they don't matter because he catches him with that big punch.
All right. Well, there you have it. Check it out. MyBookie.ag. Use the promo code Atlas for 100% credit. The one thing I'll add to that, and I wanted to get your opinion, is I do think that both guys knowing that there's the eraser there, Francis, I don't think is going to go out there looking to lunge and take chances early.
He better not.
I love the over in this fight, over 1.5 rounds. I mean, with that eraser, obviously anything can happen if he lands one big punch, but both guys are going to be aware of that. Stipe is going to be on his P's and Q's looking for the takedowns. I just think that they ease into this. Francis does have a tendency at times to ease into the fight, be a little tentative at times. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Having said that, Francis is known for coming out hot too. He comes out hot. That son of a gun.
Yeah.
He comes out of that. He comes out of that starter's gate hot, and he's scored a few early knockouts because of that. He came out hot against Stipe the first time. He came out hot, and he came close to landing. And listen, to your point, he's learned from that, and you would think that he's going to be a little bit more controlled, a little bit more patient, if you will. You would think so. You would definitely think so. But that power, you never know when it's going to explode. But I'm with you with the over-under. I would tend to go the direction you're going. If I had to go one way or the other, I would tend to go that way too.